All right, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Enough to Keep Going podcast. This is episode 346. Woo. We are coming to you live on Sunday, July 14th. So, on the Enough to Keep Going podcast, we always cover some of the big games that we've been playing this week, along with some of our choices from this week's news. Not always the biggest news stories. Sometimes those are hard to avoid, but also always we're going to make sure that the news stories that we cover are things that we have some meat to, something that we want to talk about, something that it either connects with us or hopefully connects with you as well. And then, as always, we wrap up with what else we've been playing as we look ahead to the next week. Joining me this week is Towmaster99. Tow, how are you, sir?
Doing well. Very tense opening music there for today's show. It's
That's
like
right.
a spy thriller or something.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. Yes. And Game Logic, how are you?
I'm doing good. We talked about spies here at the beginning of the show, and we were talking about baseball in the pre-show, both of which will be topics we will cross over tonight.
This is very true, right? We are just seeding our topics for the night. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Game Logic, you are up first here. It looks like you're getting ready for the All-Star game on Tuesday or the Home Run Derby tomorrow night, playing some MLB the Show, and you're playing it on the Switch. So did you pick this up recently on a sale, or have you had it? I know that Tao and I have had previous versions on the Switch, and I think you did as well. But how is it have you played the current gen console versions as well, or what brought you to MLB the Show on the Switch?
Well, as you guys know, but maybe listeners don't. I tend to buy MLB like every year and proceed to not play that particular version enough. And F1 is not that far behind, although I do tend to wind up playing F1 more than sorry, I got this new gooseneck on the mic, so I'm trying to get it adjusted right here. But I do wind up typically playing more of each iteration of F1. But I have so historically, I mean, since the series has come to the Nintendo Switch, I have not played it on the Nintendo Switch. I tend to play it either on Xbox or PlayStation. I've played one version, I think, on Xbox since it went multi-plat. And then this is the second iteration I've bought on the Switch. 2023, I think I have that on the PlayStation and on the Nintendo Switch. I got the Nintendo Switch version late. This year I haven't picked up either version on, one of the grown-up consoles. And I'm just coming to the title late in general, but it was on sale this weekend. I've been trying to mix into like my playlist, and I said that I was going to do this earlier the year, and I started it, and then I fell off. I said that I'm going to have at least one drum beat right in any ongoing rotation that is for mobile, right? It's for handheld gaming, whether that be on the Steam Deck or the Nintendo Switch or a phone or a tablet. And so the Switch was first up in the hopper this week, and I wanted to play a recent release. And so I was kind of perusing the list of Nintendo Switch releases for this year, and I landed on MLB, which is good because I obviously wanted to get over and check this year's version out. So there's not too much to tell on the Nintendo Switch version. I will say, even last year when I bought it, again, my typical normal paradigm with the Switch is that I tend to play in docked mode a lot. But again, this is supposed to be a dedicated drum beat in the rotation for playing in handheld. So that's exactly what I did. I played Call of Duty earlier today and some XDefiant, and then I was like, I got an hour, before the show. Let's get in some MLB in handheld mode. And I will say, because I didn't pick up on this last year for 23 because I didn't play a lot in handheld mode. I know Tao mentioned a little bit about I think kind of having some difficulty zeroing in on the batting. And I don't know, Tao, if you played in handheld mode or not, but
Yeah, Yeah, I was pretty much exclusively on handheld on the show. That was last year's version. Yeah,
Okay.
but I was having troubles on Xbox too, so I wasn't I wasn't gonna fault the Nintendo
You're not
Switch on that
blaming
one.
the platform, but I
Yeah, I'm
think
not blaming the platform, just my
yeah,
suckiness.
I played it on 22 on handheld as well on the Switch, and yeah, I think the default camera was a little tighter than what I was used to on Xbox.
So that's interesting because I actually playing in handheld mode tonight. I actually find it easier in handheld mode because it's right in my face. I'm able to kind of like watch and track the ball and feel a little more in time. So I'm playing the Philadelphia Phillies. My first game is against, and I'm starting all the way back in spring training. I think in 23 I just skipped spring training and went right to the regular season. But I figured, I'll play through spring training, and I'm up against Detroit first, and like the first two or three pitchers that were up, like I just had their number and timing wise, and I felt really good and comfortable with the timing. And now they've got a pitcher up that he's a little harder for me to figure out. But overall, I feel like I'm a little more in tune with the pitching. Now that being said, I started off because I haven't played in so long, and like I was like, oh man, I don't remember like my normal like algorithm that I use to decide like what my pitches are and like which way I'm going to swing the bat and that kind of stuff. So I did start off in casual. I've got dynamic skill adjustments on, so it'll tune to however well I play. I do want to say, one of the improvements for this year, I think, and maybe this has been there the whole time because I don't normally start in casual. I normally start in, I know simulation is the one that's far to the right. I can't remember what the one in the middle is. It's like pro or something like that.
I think so. And this year and last year, they've added a couple extra gradients in there of like minor and amateur, rookie, so that there's a little more space in between the casual and the kind of mid level.
Okay, I did not see that on the Switch version. I was presented 3 versions, so I wonder if that's a difference on platforms. But I started off in casual, and one of the things I want to say that's a huge help to me because I'm horrible at fielding is now when you're, and again, maybe it was there before and it's always been in casual, but I never played casual before. Now when you are fielding, it gives a letter button icon next to the fielder to tell you where they're recommending you to throw the ball to. That is something that I just always jank up and like throw it over to third when the play's at second, and then like I'm totally out. They score a double, so that's been pleasant. I will also say, if anybody remembers, one of my biggest complaints from, I think 2023, maybe it was 2022, maybe it's been present both years, is those were 2 years that in particular they stopped calling franchise, and it just, as an OCD matter, it just drove me nuts. And it drove me nuts that when you were onboarding into it, it took me, like, I'm like, what the heck is franchise mode? Like, where is it? It's buried. Everything was called something different, and it was just dumb. I will say I am very pleased to report that MLB 24, it just says franchise. So I was able to find the icon and go exactly to the mode that I wanted to go to, not be bothered with all the other stuff that I never bother with and never play. So that was good. But yeah, on the Nintendo Switch version, it's still got some of the same things. It looks a little more polished up in terms of like resolution and graphical fidelity, but you still get slowdowns in the batter animations in between bat. So when you're up batting, and you're looking at that view where you're facing the pitcher, that's fine. But when it pulls back into kind of that cinematic view and does all the stuff like they're
the cutscene or the replay.
Yeah, in between. And I want to say on the Nintendo Switch, I believe there was there used to be an option to turn that off. I always just I'll suffer through the stutter. I didn't see that, it wasn't right in my face like this year, but I would think it's probably there. But yeah, other than that, everything seems fine. There are a few audio things that were a little wonky because I was on Bluetooth earbuds, things that I probably wouldn't pick up, if it was playing out of a television speaker or just the onboard speaker itself. Just kind of background tones in terms of kind of the ambient noise just sounded very low resolution, which again might be a Nintendo Switch thing just because it doesn't have that much power. But yeah, I'm having fun with it. I was playing on the Nintendo Switch OLED, So yeah, looking forward to crunching through some more. One of my big nostalgic memories on the PlayStation Portable is which was really where I kind of first got into baseball, was the old what was the EA series called? Major League? It wasn't Major League. It was something else.
Oh yeah, what was the EA one?
I'll look that up. But one of the EA, when EA was doing baseball, I had the license. I played like hours, and I would just curl up on the couch with my PSP and crunch through that MLB season. And that's where that's where a lot of my stuff of like I insist on playing the regular season and not doing the shortcuts. And yes, I very rarely if ever get through a season of 160 something baseball games, but that's just the mode I was programmed in, because that's what I used to do on the PSP. So yeah, it harkens back
MVP
to that.
baseball.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm having a good time with it.
Nice. Yeah, I remember playing the Switch version. It mainly is running in 30 frames per second, but overall, for what it is, it's the full-fledged version. And this week with the All-Star break, it's on sale 50% off for $30. So, and usually once you get into playoff time, they do another discount with them as well.
And it was very weird. So first of all, I was very pleasantly surprised to find it at 50% off, and I was like, "Oh yes, definitely, we're getting in the pool now." It is. When I went back and looked at it a little more specifically, it was very interesting to me that only the baseline version is 50% off. The deluxe version and the deluxe version or whatever,
all the Diamond Dynasty card collecting stuff. Yep.
Yeah, they're still selling for their regular price, like at $85 and higher. Which I'm like, this is a Nintendo Switch game, but I guess PlayStation's going to do what PlayStation's going to do, right?
Was it regular still 60, or did they jump up to 70 this year for the price?
Yeah, the base model was 60, so at 50% off, it was only $30 for me when I picked it up today.
Nice.
Yeah, I still think the only Nintendo Switch game that was 70 was Tears of the Kingdom. So yeah, MLB the Show. It is still enjoyable. I'm probably in my second season with my Road to the Show character. And actually, I played a little bit of that this week as well, but I played it on my Amazon Fire Stick with Xbox Cloud Gaming. So last week we talked about, or 2 weeks ago, we talked about that Xbox made the announcement that cloud gaming was coming to Fire Sticks. So I fired it right up, pun intended. So it connects really nicely. It was super easy. You could connecting with an Xbox controller, Xbox One or Xbox Series controller. Super simple to sync up. You could also do any other Bluetooth controller. I tried the Luna controller and it wasn't very streamlined in terms of getting that in and out, in terms of getting that to sync up, because the Luna controller operates closer to what the Stadia controller did, where it's connecting Wi-Fi back to Amazon rather than connecting through as a Bluetooth device. And so that doesn't seem to work, or I haven't necessarily dug around enough since it was 5 seconds to connect up a Xbox controller. But so yeah, I played, loaded up my cloud save character. I went back to my Xbox, loaded my Road to the Show character in cloud save, and played a little bit of that on streaming, and it streams really well. The dashboard is really clean, very simple to navigate. It looks very much like your Game Pass dashboard on Xbox. With just really is focused on what the games are there. You see your friends list, you get see who else is online. So I played some. Pitching seemed relatively fine. Batting, because I play batting in kind of casual mode with zone, I wasn't necessarily trying to get my stick movement down, and so the timing of that was a little more forgiving. So that worked out okay. Testing it out on a couple other games in terms of comparing it to what else is, what does it feel like on a wired, plugged in console. I played some Madden on there, and when I've played Madden online and on Wi-Fi or wired, one of the biggest kind of network pinch points for Madden is field goals and kickoffs, like the kick meter timing, that if there's any lag in that, you certainly feel it. Like I've lost games based on lag in missing extra points. And that's why I mainly played plugged in, played, network networked. But on the cloud streaming on the Kindle Fire or on the Amazon Fire Stick, the first field goal I attempted, I had that kind of lag in the kick meter, and then like the next 6 spot on, that there wasn't any lag at all. So it seems like once it loaded in and it kind of synced up really nicely, I was really impressed with the really low latency that was there in order to make that, because since I have a comparison point. So that was, yeah, go ahead.
By any chance, do you have the Ethernet adapter for your Fire Stick?
No, I do not.
Okay,
So
you
it's
were
the
playing
Fire
with
Stick is,
Wi-Fi?
yep, Fire
Good.
Stick is playing on Wi-Fi. But there are Ethernet adapters. They're always a little clunkier for the Fire Sticks than like they were for Chrome, where Chrome was kind of built in. But so that's another reason why. I mean, I'm sitting in the same room as my Wi-Fi router, so the connection's relatively strong on a so it was the timing on passing all was tight and felt, there wasn't much of a lag there. I don't know that I'd want to play, well, like any cloud streaming piece, right? I don't know that I'd want to play it as a competitive online head-to-head aspect, but playing against the computer, the timing windows for passing were relative, they were spot on enough that it was a little mushy, but not bad at all. And then my other kind of test for Xbox Cloud on the Fire Stick was playing some Forza Horizon 5 and seeing that. And it felt, it's within the first kind of 10 seconds of loading up the game and getting into the actual driving, I still felt like it was catching up with itself. Like the graphics were kind of, the resolution was still kind of buffering a little bit, and there was a little bit of lag. But then as I played through, a minute in, my turns were, again, I'm playing with some assists, so I'm not playing on like the, shutting off all the assists. So again, I think if you were trying to have it as tight as that, it would not feel that. But with some of the assists, it felt pretty similar. Like I was able to make my way through tracks, follow my lines, make my curves without much of a difference as I would playing it on the Series X. So I was pretty impressed. It works really well, was really easy to connect up. The streaming quality is pretty good. Again, I think as we talked about Tao, when it was announced, for me, it's a Fire Stick connected to the TV by my treadmill. So, we use it when we're on the treadmill. But now if I can take a walk and get a couple of games in or play a little bit at the same time, okay, I can do that. So I was pretty impressed in terms of what it is. It only works on the 2 most recent 4K Fire Sticks. So the most recent 4K and the 4K Max. The 4K Max is really just, it's a bigger, it's the same speed, but it has more storage. But again, we're recording this during Amazon's kind of annual sale time, and I picked, the 4K Max. I looked at what they are. The 4K one is $25. So it was a pretty easy entry point to test this out, and pretty pleased with what it is. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing some more of cloud gaming on the Fire Stick.
Did they mention if it would go to like older devices eventually, or is it only going to be like newest ones?
They've only announced the newer ones. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So, and again, it's one of those where like, yes, the list price is $40 or $50 depending on what you're getting, but Amazon puts enough discounts on them that if you're looking for a cheap alternative or a way to play cloud streaming on a TV, that for $25, it was not a big investment. But I do think like the challenge there is that it's not suddenly just on, it's for every user that has a Kindle Fire Stick or a Kindle. I mean, so many branding terms within Amazon. And Amazon Fire Stick.
Echo.
Yep. Right.
Dots. You got all
yes. So if you already, I think that's maybe the missed opportunity here, is that they've sold so many of those different devices, where is this going to run? Like, it's not running on a Kindle Fire that, if it was running on a kid's Kindle Fire tablet, like suddenly that opens it up even bigger, but having it only on the two kind of modern ones, I guess the hope here is that it is supported long enough that it makes its way to the newer devices as they continue to roll them out.
Well, the thing to consider is, like, this is not like the sky is falling. I assume that Amazon at their size will figure this out. But that devices division is not profitable. It is. I mean, news has came out last year about how much money they've been losing on those devices, with the theory having been that they were going to be able to utilize them to monetize, right, from people
on the tablets or the streaming sticks.
The hardware devices division in total.
Sure.
So that division that does everything.
Yeah, right. I mean, over the past 2 years, they've been cutting a whole bunch of those devices. Whether it's
that's why there's been a big effort. There's been some effort going on internally. There's been an effort for a very long time to get them off of the Android fork, and to do their own Amazon operating system. I don't know how, but somehow that might allow them to monetize better. But yeah, it's a problem. So you just don't know the direction the thing is going. Hopefully, it will be like a Samsung thing, right, where they put it on current devices, but they're going to roll it out later. Like for the life of me, from a technical aspect, I have the Fire TV Cube, which is a much more capable device than the Fire TV sticks. It has an Ethernet, I have an adapter on it, so it has an Ethernet connection, and it's not there on the TV Cube. And as far as I know, I think it has a better processor and memory and things like that. So it's interesting. And I wonder if it's gated based on, what branch of AOSP that those devices are on, and things like that. And it's probably something, gated by Amazon not wanting to spend a ton of effort in any operating system modifications or any additional, monkeying around that they had to do to get the thing working.
I think that makes a whole lot of sense, given that they're spending resources on their Amazon Luna at the same time. So, all right, Tao, Once Human.
Yes, so I had mentioned I'd be playing this coming week. Pretty much the only thing I've been playing, unfortunately. I haven't had a lot of time, but this is a multiplayer open world survival game, is what it's kind of branded as. But I find it more kind of almost like just like an RPG. I mean, I've been playing with people too, but there's been times where I've kind of just been doing my own thing while I'm playing. I've been playing with some people from another Discord, and like I said, the majority of the time, other than like if I have to fight a boss or something, I'm like, hey, can I get some help? And they're like, yeah, sure. So they'll just jump in. But I've just been playing by myself. So it says open world survival. So you think maybe like Ark or Rust and stuff like that. So there are two different sets of servers. So you can do PvP and PvE. So we're just doing PvE right now. So just playing against AI characters. You can see everybody obviously in the world. I think you can still flip on. I think there's a way, and I think one of the guys did it last night. You can flip on PvP on yourself, and then if somebody else wants to do that, you kind of like challenge each other, and you just kind of fight right there wherever you're at. But for the most part, everything else is, everybody will leave your stuff alone. They can't touch anything. They can go into your base if you have like your doors open and stuff, but can't really do anything, can't mess with anything, can't delete anything, can't destroy it or anything like that. So that's nice. So I've just been going through the world. I actually did a little bit more base building than I usually do. It's they have kind of the I want to say prefab part. I guess prefab a little bit. So like a whole wall section, a whole window section. So it's not like total granular, like like a Lego where it's like brick by brick and stuff like that. So I built up a base and was able to get that going. You have your different like machines, crafting bench and gear bench and stuff like that. So it's actually pretty nice. There's some like nice quality of life things that kind of happen like on Pal World too. Like as long as you're in your base and you have stuff in your storage crates, you don't have to have it on yourself, so you can still craft stuff, I love that. That was the first game I saw that was in Pal World. Like, you don't have to keep going back and forth between chests and stuff and to get different materials. So that was nice. There is like so you got stamina, obviously. There's also hunger and food. That's not totally obtrusive in this game like it is kind of in some other games like in Rust and even in Pal World, in some cases Arc too. There's been times where I've been playing maybe 10-15 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta eat all of a sudden because I just noticed like it's like maybe halfway down or something like that. So that's kind of nice. They're not killing you totally. And that's, I'm sure like in the future you could probably flip that stuff on and off, or put it to minimum maximum of how you want it. But I think right now it's pretty much set to whatever their default is. Maybe once like you can have like private servers or community driven servers, you can they'll have all those flips and switches that you can do for all that stuff. But default settings is actually pretty nice. And then there's also these little, it's called deviations. They're basically like little creatures, I guess, that you can find throughout the world or get during missions, and they kind of help you out too, either in fights or back at your base. Like they'll do crafting for you or gather materials and stuff like that, kind of like in Pal World too. You can do that, so that's actually kind of nice too. It's a little weird because these things are not just like it's not like just like an alien creature or anything. It's like these weird, like ones that looks like a stuffed animal, like a big dinosaur. I don't know why. Other ones like this little cubed head guy, like humanoid, but he's like super small. So it's really weird. I don't. It kind of doesn't fit like the overall kind of real world aesthetic of the game itself. But you just see this goofy little dinosaur running around the world all of a sudden, or like a rabbit. I think they have like a little toy rabbit too, or something. It looks like a toy rabbit, but just kind of weird. One thing I think I had mentioned last week was just the look of the enemies are kind of interesting. Like it's not just there's like an alien. I guess it's kind of an invasion, but basically it kind of infects the world as a whole. So inorganic and organic matter kind of fuse together, and sometimes like some of the enemies are just like look like zombies. They're just kind of decayed-ish look. They're just regular humans, but other ones, human body, then they have like a suitcase for a head. I don't know why. I don't know how they even thought of that. But there's another one with like a spotlight. He's got a spotlight on their head. The ones like that, once you kill them, once you get rid of them, their head drops, and you can use those as weapons too. And they're only like a limited time, like a limited use. It's like 20-30 seconds or however much power that's in the device. So yeah, that's kind of cool too. Those are kind of overpowered, I guess, a little bit. They pretty much take out enemies fairly quickly, at least regular enemies fairly quickly. Now there's like mini bosses and like big, I guess, level bosses. Like you're going, as you're going through the story, like you hit like different story points, and there'll be a boss that you have to fight. So I've only done one so far. I think there's 3 altogether right now, I believe, at least that I know of, that you can do. So I've done the first one. I had actually done him when I first started playing. I think I had got to like level 4 or 5 maybe on my character, and one of the other people was going to go do it. So they just kind of you can create a team basically within your group, and then you can go and do stuff. So they did that, and we were all fought it, and then but I hadn't got to that story point yet, so I had to do it again when I actually got to it. That's when I called in everybody, and I was able to do it fairly quickly. Maybe could have done it by myself, maybe. Might have taken me a long time, and I probably would have had to bring like a lot of ammo and medicine. So, but I figured since they're online, I just call them in. But very, very, very cool game. I actually been playing it the last like 3 or 4 nights since it came out. Pretty much. I think there's one night that I skipped. I couldn't play, but yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with it. I'm probably jump on it actually after the show, but it's going pretty well so far. Now there is it is free to play, and I think I mentioned this in a post on Discord when I think one of the stories that I guess GameLogIQ had put up. I had mentioned that I haven't seen any kind of paywall yet, as far as I've seen. Most everything that's in the store is just aesthetics. So, just skins for guns or, your characters and stuff like that. I haven't seen anything about it, but I think, and I forgot to check this the other night, I think you can buy, it's basically, I don't want to say experience. It's basically kind of one of the in-game currencies, because of course, it's kind of like MMO. So it's got to be like a million currencies or different things that you can use different, for different abilities or buying whatever weapons, upgrading weapons, stuff like that. I think one of those you can buy possibly with the money. I have to double check that, so don't quote me on that. So that could be a potential problem with the PvPs, because obviously someone could just plop down $20-$30 and they can jack themselves up, to super strength. So, but I'll have to double check that to make sure. But so far I haven't seen anything where it's just like, oh, a pay to win thing. So, and I haven't seen anything where I haven't hit anything. Well, like I said, I've only done the first level or story mission so far. I haven't seen anything where it's like, oh, I'm super underpowered. I can't do this unless I, pay some money and, buff my guy up. So haven't seen anything like that either. So it's pretty decent. I'm very surprised this game. There's some graphical things here and there. You just, you melt through the floor or something, you kind of like walking and all of a sudden you kind of like dip a little bit or something, like just, it's simple janky things like that. But I haven't seen anything major so far. So yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised so far with this game.
So last week, my free-to-play game was First Ascendant by Nexon. This week, your free-to-play game is Once Human by publisher NetEase. So we've got a news story around this as well, but I wanted to give a little more time for the game discussion. So you haven't hit any type of paywall or any incentive to kind of push you in that direction.
Right.
Okay. That's, as someone who, 2 days after our last podcast talking about First Ascendant, when I uninstalled First Ascendant after kind of seeing the microtransaction treadmill, I was like, okay, I think I'm done. But at this point, you're not at that stage yet.
Yeah, correct. Now,
GameLogIQ. Go ahead.
Just real quick, having said that, they do have it's like a pre-built house that you can buy, in the store. And this is just like, for a base thing. And I don't know if it's like, I haven't seen anything kind of like in Lego Fortnite where they have like a whole house. You can just, it'll build it basically as long as you have the materials. I haven't seen anything like this in this game, but I think it's just basically the parts for the houses that you can get. So it's like an all glass house basically. Right now, all I can do is like a basic wood wood walls and wood floors and all that. And then I think I've just upgraded, or I see the upgrade path for stone, which is pretty much, same thing that I've seen in other games like Ark and stuff like that. But this all glass house, I think it's like $40 or something. It's like, wow, like, okay, like that's fine. This is an aesthetic thing, but I was like, that's pretty pricey just for like a skin, basically. So, so there's things like that, and there is a battle pass too, which I think is kind of weird. I guess I've never seen a battle pass for like this type of game, at least. But it's have the free tier as usual, and obviously you can pay for the premium pass and just get more stuff. So it's like whatever. I don't think I'll ever do that, but who knows? Stranger things have happened.
Game Logic, look like you had a question there or a comment.
So Tyler, I'm not a survival game person, so I don't have any of those things of that ilk in my lineup. I have in the past have had things like Destiny 2, and other things. And with this game, it all depends on which cutscenes you watch that determine what your walk away takeaway is of the game. Because they have cutscenes that show kind of both. And so my interest is in the content that I've seen in the game that makes it look like an online co-op PvE kind of thing, right? With some loose kind of a story, or at least you going on missions or adventures to like take down big boss creatures. Like, how much of that content is there, and is there the 51% that would make me interested, and maybe be more willing to tolerate the 49% of the stuff that's survival?
I would say if I want to compare it to Destiny, no, only because I barely see anybody else within the world, even though I'm on supposedly a mid to high population server right now. Now, I mean, the map is fairly large, so maybe I just don't see anybody like walking around a lot. And they have the little hub spaces where obviously you come together, and it's kind of like a safe zone, but it's PvE anyways. Like I said, maybe like around there, and a few other times, like when I've actually done missions, I've seen people, and they are kind of just sitting there doing their own thing. Like I think I've had like one person kind of just like come up to me and we're like, doing a little goofy emote or whatever, and then they're gone. They just do their own stuff. So unless you have people to play with, probably it's probably not going to be for you, to be honest with you. I'll just say that. Because like I said, even if I hadn't been playing with those people from Discord, I might have kind of bounced off early just because it might have been kind of hard for me, and just because it has all these MMO, like I said, they have all these currencies, and there's all these other. I didn't even get into like the weapons and all these blueprints and all this other stuff that you can do to upgrade your stuff. So, and that stuff kind of turns me off sometimes. But because I was playing with these people, I was able to explain it to me a little bit, better than just me trying to fumble through it or looking at 20 million online guys to try to figure it out. So yeah, unfortunately, I mean. The shooting itself, it's pretty good. Like you got obviously, even though this is I guess near future, I guess it's supposed to be. They never really said like what year it is, but it's using like modern weapons, so you just regular ARs, SMGs, and light machine guns, stuff like that. So in that respect, it'd be pretty familiar to you. But yeah,
Is this shooting in first person or third person?
it is third person, but depending on what the gun you have and like the scope you're using, it'll switch to that first person view.
Okay, gotcha.
So then there's different, attachments you can put on guns and stuff like that. So yeah, like I said, it's free to play though. So I mean, if you want to just jump in there and try it, I mean, it's not gonna hurt anything. I don't think so.
Well,
Unless you
that
have
is
issues
a perfect
with it.
segue to
Yes.
it's not going to hurt anything to the news story about coming from Rock Paper Shotgun in terms of some data privacy concerns around Once Human. GameLogIQ, you pulled this news story. Do you want to take us through it?
Yeah, so this news story over on, as mentioned, Rock Paper Shotgun by Edwin Evans Thurwell. Once Human is the center of a storm of data privacy concerns over a policy line about collecting government ID. Free-to-play open-world survival shooter Once Human has spent its first week in the wilds weathering complaints about its data collection practices, many of them directed at a line from publisher NetEase's privacy policy, in which they state that personal information they receive from you may include government-issued ID, such as passport information, as required by applicable laws for age verification and correction of personal information. Following a backlash of the user reviews, the game was mostly negative on Steam at launch, but has since risen to mixed. I think it's at 65% now on Steam. And on social media, the game's developer Starry Studio have published a blog insisting that they harbor no dark intentions for your personal details, or at least that they harbor intentions no darker than those of many other developers who collect your personal information. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if Tao may have just stepped away, but NetEase is, of course, a Chinese company, which is I shouldn't say necessarily set off a lot of alarms and bells and whistles, but you can understand that would be part of the dynamic in people's reactions. However, it is also part of the explanation of the causality for this. And certain things along this lines of establishing policy may have been put together by may come from the legalese pushed by the publisher. But as a Chinese company, obviously NetEase wants this game to be in China. I don't know if it's gotten there yet. I've talked earlier this year about there's a whole super hyper complicated regime that it takes to get through to get your game into China. But one of the things is, and NetEase would have been pushing this from the outset because a lot of these things require code, and within software development, it's always easier to plan, architect, and design for implementation of those things up front than to do them later. Often leads to things that I call coding yourself into a corner, where you make something unnecessarily difficult because you didn't figure out that you were going to need to accommodate it up front. In China, with minors, there again is an entire rubric and framework and regime of how many hours of online games they're allowed to play. And one of the things that's required in China often for certain types of games is that you have to present your government ID in order to log into the game. And so that is going to be at least a large part of the genesis of this topic. My understanding from some loose reading is also that is not only a requirement in China, but there may be some other countries that enforce things like that. And in fact, China will sometimes take it as so far as to have facial recognition that's required over a webcam for you to be allowed to log into a game. So I mean, we had a little bit of this kind of, I want to say last year with Diablo 4, when Activision, for new players onboarding into Battle.net for the first time, or tying their, Diablo accounts or whatever back, there was a demand in certain cases for like a personal cell phone number, and some people kind of flipped out about
It goes all
that.
the way back to Overwatch 2 when it launched, of having the
Yeah. So I'm not going to say it's a nothing burger and like shouldn't pay attention to it. I just think that there's causality and reasons for that. If those causality and reasons are kind of already part of your moral and value system of saying, yeah, no thanks, and pushing away from the table, I'm definitely not saying change that. But I am saying, if you have questions about it and you're wondering, well, what the heck is this? Other people don't ask for that, right? To understand, right, what's kind of at the nexus of what's causing it.
Sorry, I had to jump away for a second. Were you going to ask me a question?
So I don't know where this developer is from. I was commenting when you were away that that NetEase is a Chinese company, but I don't remember where the developer is from.
Let me see if I can find it. On that note, too, though, just looking at some of the things like and I think you had mentioned the cell ID and Wi-Fi stuff like that within the article. This game is coming to mobile too, which is I find kind of interesting. So I didn't know that, because when this was kind of coming about, I was like, why would he even ask for like some of the stuff like this? But I didn't, and I was looking around. It is supposed to come out for both iOS and Android, so might be part of it too, obviously, with some of that stuff. And from what I've read in other areas and some just YouTube stuff that I've seen in just other sites, it's not like too abnormal. I don't know if you mentioned this, too abnormal, some of the stuff they're asking about. So I mean, I don't know, but it's like I said, if you're concerned about it, yeah, totally, don't play it, don't install it. So, but yeah.
So just quick look online. Starry Studios is a direct NetEase studio. It's one of NetEase's newer studios. Digging through a few posts around it, they have staff out of North America, Europe, a lot of remote, into Asia as well. So they're kind of a global remote studio.
How do you know? I mean, so you purchase it via Steam account. I also suspect that a lot of this is to handle people who will wind up having accounts to play this game that are not on Steam, right? Not on a large capital body that has, collaboration agreements and things like that. I mean, what were you asked to provide to sign up for your account?
I just used my Steam, and I didn't have to go through any other kind of sign up after that. So I'm assuming it just, or it probably just automatically does it through Steam, I'm assuming at that point.
Yeah, I mean, what I assume is that some agreement was brokered, right, when publishing that game to Steam, that probably established that they weren't going to ask for that type of stuff. So I don't know what other outlets people are getting the game from, and quite honestly, I haven't tracked like the outrage, because as we often say on the show, and I often insist, online internet reactions are not news. The news is the matter of the policy itself, not how people are reacting to it. So I don't know if these are. I also haven't tracked if like these are people from other countries who may, like Europe, who are online and on Twitter or whatever, and maybe running into some of these things because they're underneath a different regulatory regime, or not purchasing the game through Steam.
Yeah, coming under the European Union and all the different pieces there in terms of the regulatory aspects.
Yeah, right now you can get it on Steam and Epic, and then you can get it straight from their site. So,
yeah, and that straight from their site is probably where I would estimate you're getting a lot of this kind of stuff coming up.
Where it asks all the sign up stuff.
Yep, that makes sense. All right, let's move on to the next story here. This one should be a quick hit. This is a personal story of mine, mainly because my kids have an attachment to this game. So the Legend of Starfy, Sendetsu, Detsenu, Starfy 1, 2, and 3 came out on GBA back in only Japan, and now are hitting the Nintendo Switch Online for the GBA service. That the only Starfy game that came out outside of Japan was on the DS. And this one kind of raised my eyebrows in terms of paying attention to it, because my kids played Starfy on the DS when they were, let's say, 5 and 7. And it is a very appropriate 5 and 7-year-old platformer, right? It is very straightforward and very simple. But the nice thing about whether it's any of these online services, anytime that something that was previously region locked now gets a chance to be experienced by others is a positive. Thinking on the GBA, there was just a GBA game that was stuck in kind of development purgatory for 20 some years that was just released in a digital version that you needed a GBA emulator to be able to play. But so again, some of the game preservation aspects here as well. So not a lot to talk about there, but just kind of a quick hit that had a chance to play 2 of the 3 of them. They are very straightforward, kind of simple platformers, but great kids games.
Yeah, I think they've done that with a few games, haven't they? Now for the
Yeah,
online
there's been a
service?
couple Japanese only ones that one of the kind of castle, I don't remember which one, but came over for an NES. That was it was only on Famicom. Yep.
I haven't played any of the Game Boy stuff yet. I'm assuming does it like letterbox, or like it's just a little bit part of the screen? It's not a full screen.
Yeah, no, it keeps it kind of in a small square rectangle to begin with. I think you can stretch it. Yes, you can, because I've done that with Golden Sun, and you don't want to stretch it because
No.
it doesn't look so great. But yeah, if it keeps it kind of small, just pretend you're playing on a Game Boy Micro and you'll be okay. So, Tao, stay on the mic here. You've got the next news story as we are talking about. You talked about Battle Pass with Once Human. Now you've got a story here coming from GameIndustry.biz around Apex Legend.
Yeah, I think our next couple stories here are going to be some price increases or differences that's happening throughout the game industry. First one is Apex Legends is going to change their Battle Pass pricing. This is going to happen after the launch of season 22, which happens next month. And besides the price increase, which I'll get to in a second, they're also you'll only be able to buy the Battle Pass with real world money. So before, you get the in-game currency during the Battle Pass when you're going through it, and you're able to use that. That's pretty much like in Fortnite and all the other Battle Royale games, kind of like that. You can use the in-game money to buy the next, Battle Pass. Kind of what I think I've always done that in Fortnite too. I was able to just save it up and buy the next season. Now you will only be able to use real world money, and they're going to split the Battle Pass in half. So you basically have to buy it twice of sorts. So you got the premium edition, which is going to be just $10. So that'd be the first half. And then there's a Premium Plus edition, which I guess you'll pay $20 for that, which will get you both halves of the Battle Pass.
So they're splitting the season into 2 Battle Passes, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So with the premium, like I said, you'll pay $10. That's just for one half of it. So then you have to pay another $10 for the second half, or you do the Premium Plus, which is $20, and that gives you, I guess, all the tiers. So both seasons. I don't know what the thinking was here, to be honest with you. Well, I know what the thinking was. They want to make money or make more money, but I don't get it, to be honest with you. I just don't know how this is going to play out going forward.
I am wondering about this too, right? Because to me, this is we saw this happen with Gameloft with the Disney Speedstorm game back in the spring, where they did an update where they split the season in half and could no longer use in-game currency. But that is living in kind of a, karting free-to-play game world where this has got a lot of other competition, direct competition in terms of the Battle Royale space.
Yeah.
GameLogIQ, you look like you're chewing on something you want to say.
Well, it's just interesting. I mean, Halo Infinite did the same kind of a thing where, it wasn't the exact same thing, but my point is, it was a lot of machinations around like battle passes, and and it was, in the way they did it, they were targeting the people who were progressing through the free tier, right? And they were like, you can progress through the free tier, but that's only going to last for a part of the season. And then by that point, if you haven't bought the battle pass, then like you're not going to have access to that stuff. So, and, you know, back to what Tao was saying at the beginning, which is, you now have to buy the battle pass with actual money and not in-game currency. There's examples of that happening in lots of different places across the industry. So Call of Duty now, when you go into certain things on the store, there are certain packages that are, you pay cash for them. You don't buy them with COD points. And that probably serves a couple issues. Like it's a direct transaction of money and not funny money, which probably reduces like certain level of like piggyback costs that are associated with all those different transactions, because it's got to transact once, between, just in the game and like Activision servers, but eventually at some point like that supposedly means like real money, and that's another further exchange. And I mean, does that money change hands when you buy the COD points, but then not all COD points you buy, and so at the end of the day it's less actual operational cash flow coming in and out of Activision. So there's financial reasons for that stuff, and I think you're going to see more and more of it. We're probably likely to see a day as things get tighter and tighter and tighter, where a lot of these virtual currencies kind of go away. Maybe not in their entirety, but where there will be certain things like battle passes or whatever, expansion packs of of a certain ilk, are cash, and then like smaller things can be with like the virtual currency. So we'll see how it goes. I know like World of Warships, like now, and I don't think it has been this way the entire time, certain improvements on your ship, you don't have to buy them, but like they'll offer like 3, which you can like earn with in-game or gain with in-game stuff, ship XP or whatever. But then there's always like a 4th one that's like, okay, this one you have to go and buy it right from the store, which again, it's still virtual currency, but in order to buy it from the store, you have to have bought doubloons or coins or earn those somehow with real money. So it's well, coins you don't have to earn with real money, but I think most of those things you buy in the store, I think, are either doubloons or you exchange them for some other currency or something. But the point being is that it's not just something that you earn via the same exact in-game revenue value stream as like the thing that they're making you go to the store for. So yeah, I think we're going to see more and more of this. It'll be interesting to see how it kind of turns out.
Yeah, I know on the Fortnite side, they had been doing that for quite a while now. Originally, they only did like maybe 1 or 2 things, like a season, where you could only buy a skin or a pack of skins or a bundle or something with real world money, and then they kind of put in overdrive once they started doing other IP crossovers, like more and more. So I think that the first time I really started seeing it a lot was with the Marvel season that they did. And obviously you can, you got the skins through the Battle Pass, the Marvel skins through Battle Pass, but then they had a whole separate thing in the store where it was like, here's a pack of, I think it was like a pack of X-Men that you can buy, just with real world money. And, and they still have, they still had skins and stuff where you can pay, with the in-game currency, but it seems more and more they had started going to the real world money side too. So, I mean, it was always there, I suppose, but it just seems weird that they're gonna. I guess it's just the battle pass splitting that it just seems weird to me. Like I don't know. It just seems kind of weird. Like I don't know why. I'm assuming it's still the 100 tier battle pass, unless they're gonna they're gonna up the amount that you get. But
my bet is that it's gonna be 50-50. The first one will be take you to level 50, and the second one will be 51 through 100.
Yeah, that's how I've seen it with other ones as well.
Yeah, so it just seemed kind of weird that you're going to pay $10 for the same amount you're you're gonna pay $20, eventually for the same amount that you're only paying 10 for before. So
Yes, you are. That is exactly what they want.
I mean, I know, I understand that, but it doesn't make any sense. So,
and I think this brings us to an interesting point of some other market dynamics that are going on in terms of like uptake of a particular game. Concord, the PlayStation 5, multiplayer, multiplayer game that to me maps to a lot of kind of like what Overwatch is, has been getting a lot of negative press because a lot of people feel like that game should be free to play. And I'm like, I think, this conversation shows that I think what people really need to consider, like, first of all, free to play ain't been free to play since the day it dropped, right? The free to play is a euphemism, and it's becoming less and less of a euphemism, right? And it's becoming more and more transparent that, free to play just means that you're still going to pay to play, and so, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how Concord goes about it, because things like this and things like we see happening in other games, I think starts to make an argument. It starts to look very much like mobile. And what is our paradigm in mobile as gamers who went to mobile because we were gamers already versus the people who became gamers on mobile? People who were gamers on console and PC who went to mobile, we're the type of consumers that will typically say, I just want to pay for the game. I don't want you to nag me every 5 minutes for like, oh, if you just buy it. No, just if there's a thing that says lifetime access to everything, we will tend to buy that. If not right off the bat, definitely the first or second time that we're nagged. So if Concord goes about things and they charge people $40 up front, but then they don't nag you and nickel and dime you with little penny ante stuff like Apex is doing, and I'm not saying Apex is doing anything egregious. I think Apex is doing what they need to do. It's also EA. I think they're doing what they need to do to keep the game being like a viable service. And I think this whole notion of, and Fortnite kind of started it in my mind, or at least popularized it, this whole notion of like, you're just going to play the game and we're going to pay you to play the game and therefore give you, right, the money for you to like access the next battle pass. I think that's going to start going away. And so when you look at things from those optics, if Concord doesn't do a lot of those things after the fact, that $40 up front may seem to be, not as big a deal.
Yeah, I think the Concord model, I mean, Concord feels like it's trying to follow the Helldivers model, right? Of pricing it kind of in that in-between state so that there is some investment, but then not having to nickel and dime you to the same degree. Well, let's move on to or you got one more thing here, Game Lodge?
I just want to ask, what is the other, is Pal World free to play or paid?
Pal World.
No, you got to pay for that.
Paid, yes.
Yeah, there's no store in that game for right now, as far as I know.
Yeah, so I think again a lot of sturm and drang around Concord. I'm like, I think there are other examples across the industry that we're seeing of games that are coming out that are just saying, pay me up front, right? I mean, a lot of the conversation around Pal World, yeah, because now it's I was having problems remembering, but now I'm remembering the chronology, right? Because we talked about, it's $500K for their servers, and a lot of people's argument was that, well, people are paying for the game up front, so they've already made their money. They don't really need a high concurrent player number, which I don't think is the case. Regardless of the fact that they're charging you up front, the game still needs to do well in order to survive and be competitive on the market, and it needs to constantly bring in new players. And we came across that article. I can't remember if we talked about it here, but we came across the article from a couple of years ago on GI Biz with the Ark survival guys talking about, yeah, this is how we maintain the game, right? We ask you to pay up front, but the veteran players who are in here, we have to keep them interested because those are the people who go out and bring us new players. So again, if you have that type of model, I think again it lends to, the other dynamics we're going to see around the industry and more of these games asking you to pay them up front, so that their at least upfront immediate development, right, is paid by a constant incoming stream of upfront money rather than microtransactions, battle passes, and yada yada yada.
Yeah, Pal World's $30 normally.
All right, let's move into another price increase story, which probably sucked up a lot of headlines this week in terms of Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate and the changing tiers to the Game Pass model. GameLogIQ, you want to take us through this one?
Yeah, and I'm actually gonna. I think I have to do it from memory because there's actually not a ton of information in this article at Game Informer.
I've pulled up on X. There was a couple people that have posted different kind of charts, so I've got that pulled up as well. So I'll fact check you as we go.
Okay, so the main thing is that Game Pass up until now, up until recent history. So I will talk about through fall of 2023 has had 3 tiers. They've had Xbox Game Pass Core, which in reality is what Xbox Live used to be.
Games with Gold and Xbox Live. Yep.
Xbox Live Gold. Because there has been Xbox Live Silver, which was no cost, which is essentially the free Xbox account that you can always sign up for, but you don't pay anything for. So Xbox Live, what used to be Xbox Live Gold, has already been transitioned to Xbox Game Pass Core. The difference with Core is that, unlike the other Game Pass tiers that existed previously and now, they retained the ability for you to pay for that one annually. So all the other Game Pass tiers you must pay for monthly, but Game Pass Core still retains the old Xbox Live Gold paradigm of allowing you to pay for it annually. I think annually it used to be $60 or $65, and it was that for like a decade. And now that's going to bump up an additional $15 to $75 a year. Your second tier is Xbox Live Standard, and that replaces what briefly was called, what was called Xbox Live Console, Xbox Game Pass Console. And so that is I guess I would call the standard service that you would sign up for on console if console was the only place that you played or was the only place that you wanted to consume Game Pass. The key thing with that tier, in 2019, Xbox announced that Game Pass was getting day and date. Xbox Game Pass Standard now pulls day and date back. That is now going to move up tier and is not going to be part of the baseline service. Now with all of these tiers, if you are subscribed already, you will retain things. One thing that I don't know is I don't know if you are subscribed to Xbox Live Console now, and you have, say, started a game that was day and date. I guess you're gonna retain that, so it doesn't impact anything legacy.
If you're currently a subscriber and you have auto renew turned on, you stay at whatever price point you're at. If you have auto renew turned on,
right. As soon as you lapse, as soon as you turn it off for a month, when you come back, you're a new subscriber and you're gonna pay the higher price. But the thing I was curious about was, so Xbox Live. So it's going to be curious to see what they do with the content menu, right? Because what I was talking about there was if a day and date game, like, are there any day and date games that are going to migrate out of Xbox Game Pass Standard? Or are they just going to snap a line and they're going to say, look, everything that's in Game Pass now is in Game Pass now? I mean, because games are still going to continue to drop, right, while we're doing this transition. And one of those things means that any new subscribers, these new prices are kicking in now. The legacy subscribers who stay on what they're saying, where there are price increases, those price increases still hit you. You're only retaining the legacy price until September 12th. On September 12th, everybody's prices go up. Xbox Live, I keep saying Xbox Live, Xbox Game Pass Standard now will be, is it $13 a month?
So standard is $14.99, so $15 a month.
Okay.
And that includes the Game Pass catalog, but not your day one aspects.
Yeah. Now, the thing you will get added to Xbox Game Pass Standard that Xbox Game Pass Console didn't have is you will now get multiplayer. So what a lot of people didn't track is that Xbox Live Console has never had paid multiplayer. So if you had been previously Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you were inoculated against that little nit, and you probably didn't notice it or realize it. But on Xbox Game Pass Console, they have never had access to paid multiplayer. 2 years ago, I think, the policy was revised so that everyone who has a free Xbox account has access to free to play multiplayer. So you can play Fortnite, you can play Apex Legends, but if it's for any paid game, that multiplayer you wind up having to pay for to get access to. So that's Xbox Game Pass Core and Xbox Game Pass Standard. There's still PC Game Pass, and PC Game Pass I highly suspect, because Microsoft believes that PC players would not stand for any of this foolishness, remains relatively untouched. I think it's actually staying. Is it staying at the same price?
Staying at the same. It's the only thing. I mean, like it becomes an incredible value at $12 a month, where you get.
It's going up a couple dollars, isn't it? According to this.
No.
Oh,
I thought it was. I thought it was $10 a month.
Yeah, according to this.
Oh,
Yeah,
then maybe
it
it
was $10,
is, yes.
and it's going to 12.
It's
Yeah.
going to 12. Yes, you're correct. The price goes up, but it
day one
still
release as
includes the
well.
day one. Yep.
Right.
Correct.
I think part of this is the fact that we're looking at multiple sites to figure this out, like the confusion aspect of this. And this is just for new people, let alone the multi-tiered grandfathered in people who are already kind of living in an in-between space.
Right. So let me get through the last one, then we'll swing back and do the analysis. So if you are Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, so one thing I want to say is all of these prices for the tiers that previously existed had already experienced a price increase in June of 2023. So this is basically a year later that they're all going up in price again. So if you're on Game Pass Ultimate, which had already gone up to $16.99 a month, it is now going to be $19.99 a month, $20. You still continue to get everything that you got before. So you get EA Play. It's one thing to specify. You do not get EA Play if you are on Xbox Game Pass Standard. And again, we already covered that you don't get day and date. So on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you get day and date. You get EA Play. You get access to Xbox Cloud Gaming Beta, because in 2020, they made the policy that only Game Pass Ultimate players had access to Xbox Cloud Gaming. So basically, if you want all you can eat of all the games and all of the service levels, that is at the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate tier, and of course that includes everything Xbox Game Pass Standard has, and everything PC Game Pass has, and allows you to play on both PC and Xbox. Okay.
And the Ultimate piece also includes EA Play, right, and the Riot partnerships. So
yeah, are the Riot partners? Are the Riot games not available on?
They're
Game Pass
available.
Standard?
They're not available on Standard. They are available on PC Game Pass and in Ultimate.
Wow. Okay, so that's another one. So yeah, let's start with the confusion, right? This is a standard Microsoft playbook. Like if you, it's one thing if you're familiar with the different pricing packages for consumer products. If you've been exposed to Microsoft pricing in the enterprise, it is way worse than this. There are like 10 different SKUs for how to buy anything. And in fact, I talked about this actually a few years ago when there was a lot of sturm and drang about, well, Xbox is trying to force everybody to subscriptions, like just like Microsoft Office, because Office is because subscription is now the only way you can buy Office. That is actually not true. You can actually buy Office like 8 different ways. The thing is, most people don't know about them. You're heavily incentivized and funneled to just go get the subscription. But you can actually use Office online for free if you just want to use the web version. You can't download. Yeah, that doesn't give you access to any of your files. So there's always 99 different ways. This is also inherently core to Microsoft Windows if you spend any time working with the operating system, because there's always 99 different ways to do a thing, right? And this extrapolates to their pricing structure. But yeah, the question is like what a lot of journalists have contended is, this is confusing because now, mom and dad who aren't gamers, little Tommy and Susie, want an Xbox for Christmas. They walk into the store, they get the sales pitch from the guy in GameStop or the Best Buy girl. And, now before they used to get presented, hey, you're getting your Xbox, would you like to buy a card or whatever, or sign up for, Xbox Live Gold, Game Pass Console or Game Pass Ultimate. But now it's like 4 things. And the big thing is, it's not just that it's 4 things, it's 4 things with like these, half dozen different caveats of like what you get access to and what you don't. So I don't know. What are your guys' comments on that?
Tao, you want to take a turn?
Yeah. Before, oh, man, I think that it comes down to just that there's too many tiers. There really is. Like, and I know you're just talking about, even in the enterprise side, it's even worse. And I've seen that too. But it's so confusing. Like, even when I'm reading this, it's like, oh, the yearly charge is changing, but the monthly's staying the same. Like, how does that even work out then? Am I just an idiot? Like, how does that work out where the monthly price stays the same,
Well,
but
that's
the yearly
if
will
you.
change?
So the only one that it affects is Xbox Game Pass Core, because
That's for
they're the
core,
only
you're
ones
right,
who can buy annually. And so it's not dissimilar from actually PlayStation Plus, actually, or any of the way like Xbox Live and all this stuff has always been. If you're going to pay month to month, you're basically going to pay a higher price. But if you go ahead and go in annually and pay that money up front, then you get basically a discount.
Yeah, a lot of that pricing structure is grandfathered over from kind of the Xbox Live Gold, things like that.
But wouldn't it be cheaper now monthly because the price is staying the same?
Yes, actually. I mean, right? Like it
That's
doesn't
what
make it.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
No,
because that doesn't make any
it
sense.
then it's in the same model of, do you pay Peacock or Max or Paramount Plus? If you buy them annually, you get a discount versus if you pay month to month, right? Like,
Well, I think the little nit that Tao is bringing up, and actually it's really pertinent because I wouldn't even thought about this, is I would have to do the math all the way out, but I think there is a very skinny slice here where, depending on the type of consumer and how they're procuring, that if they're a legacy customer paying month to month for Xbox Game Pass Core, they may come out cheaper continuing to pay month to month on the legacy price. And then buying in annually on September 12th, rather than doing what you're really incentivized to do here, which is immediately pay annually. Because well, no, I take that back. Actually, the cheapest way for them to go about it would be to buy another year now at the reduced annual price, and then that pushes out when that runs out, and where you will have the demand signal that you have to pay it at the higher price. But again, the whole point of that is, why am I sitting here playing 3-card Monty, right? Trying to figure out how the heck to make, and again, we're slicing grapes here for this, right? Like, I mean, for a lot of consumers, does it really make a big, huge difference if you pay like $5 to $10 more, right, for a 12-month? Like, I don't know. But we're also in a world where lots of people are not happy about the rising price of everything, so maybe people will be incentivized to do that. I don't know.
The other thing too, and I don't think they mentioned it here in this article in Game Informer, but I think they were saying somewhere else. There was another article I was reading where you can't stack as much now, as many months ahead. I think it's only like 13 months now or something like that. I can't remember what the max stack was, but
I think
that
I
was part of
remember
it
reading
too.
that as well. As somebody who
Yeah.
is paid out like 2 years in advance for
Yeah.
a long period of time. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I would do too. If I saw a sale, I would just buy a bunch of, 6 months cards, and just
I'm looking on
I'm good.
CD keys right now, and a 3-month Game Pass Ultimate card is $32, right? Like,
Yeah, so
but if you can only stack for a year, it only holds you so long.
right.
Yeah,
I
so
think that's the whole other side of it.
So the somewhat official, or at least taking from the official ad copy, is this excerpt over on comicbook.com. In a breakdown on the official Xbox website, Microsoft revealed that it's going to start preventing Xbox Game Pass for console from being able to be stacked for multiple years at a time. And Game Pass is going on at the end of September. This will no longer be possible, as Microsoft is going to limit the subscription to a max of 13 months. As of September 18th, 2024, the maximum extension limit of Game Pass for console will be 13 months. This will not impact any time you currently have stacked on your account that exceeds 13 months. It will only impact your future ability to stack more than 13 months after September 18th, 2024.
So this goes right back to the confusing language. You keep saying Game Pass on console. So is that Game Pass Ultimate because it's on console? Is that not Game Pass PC then, which you could stack for more than, right? Like, the language here is still unclear.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, Game Pass Ultimate inherently includes Game Pass on console. So I would assume that you also limit. I assume that the only people who it's okay for them to stack is PC Game Pass. But quite honestly, like if you buy like an Xbox Game Pass card from wherever, because first of all, lots of those cards aren't being sold anymore at retail. Can you apply that on PC to PC Game Pass? Like, is there a redeem code option in that UI? I don't know that there is.
I mean, I think you would redeem code probably on Xbox.com is where you would probably go to redeem that code. Yep. So then, yeah, potentially, if you're stacking core, or I mean, I think one of the other things, yes, and thank you, it used to be up to 3 years, and I remember that was very much the case when Game Pass Ultimate launched as well. And there's been, I think one of the things that hasn't been clear yet is, does this change the conversion rate as well? Because the conversion rate for core to Game Pass Ultimate was like a 3-2 in terms of months. Whether that changes this as well, but I haven't seen anything about that.
I would assume that it does, because it, from my understanding, is it was already changing people's when they were trying to convert.
Yeah.
So I think the other thing that I want to cover on this is the Call of Duty impact, because I think this is a thing that does not get talked about and has not been briefed and detailed enough. So I guess, and I know we're watching time, so I guess two things that I want to cover is
no, but I think this is very relevant, so we can cover some of our other games later on. But I think this is at the core of this to some degree, right? Is recouping $69 billion of an Activision piece.
Well, there's that. One of the things I wanted to cover is what is this? What do all these tiers mean for people accessing Call of Duty? Because Call of Duty has been presented and advertised, and like there's been a lot of rah-rahing and pom-pomming and cheerleading that, hey, this is the big get. You're going to get the Activision Blizzard portfolio now in Game Pass. So let's go through the tiers. If you are an Xbox Game Pass core, you do not get access day and date to Call of Duty because you don't get day and date. Call of Duty might come to that tier at some point. Like, first of all, those core is only a limited carousel of, like, I don't know what it is, like 15, 16, 20, maybe up to 30 games. It's not the whole 500 catalog. So you don't get Call of Duty.
Yeah, and that only changes like a few times a year for core.
Right.
So
right.
That's the other confusing thing too, is like what you get for each tier.
Yeah. It is what I feel like Game Pass core is like, it's very much like Nintendo Switch Online. Right, at its initial rollout, like you get access to a few games, you believe you're going to get different ones swapped out at some time, but you don't really know. Right. If you are on Xbox Game Pass Standard, you don't get Call of Duty. You don't get access to day and date. You're not going to get it up front. It may come to that tier at some point later, but you don't know. If you're on PC Game Pass, you get Call of Duty. If you are on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you get access to Call of Duty because you get day and date. Here's the other thing. So if you're on Game Pass Standard and Game Pass Core, you will have to buy Call of Duty if you want it up front. The other thing is, if you're on, I mean, so now at least everybody has access to multiplayer. The way the deal was, if you roll the tape back like 2 months, yay, Call of Duty is coming to Game Pass. Oh, but you guys on Xbox Game Pass console don't have multiplayer, so who cares, right? And a lot of people are saying, well, we get access to the single player campaign. Okay, great. That's 8 hours of content at best. I mean, but the real big get is multiplayer, because that is the crown jewel. Now, Warzone is a bigger deal than multiplayer, but everybody's always had access to Warzone, so that's no big get. Who cares if it's going into Game Pass? Like, you had access to it anyway. So now today, if you're going to do Xbox Game Pass Ultimate at $20 a month, spend $240 a year so that you can get access to Call of Duty, you still have to buy your battle passes. That's $10. There are 6 seasons in a year. That's another $60. So you're going to pay $300 on Game Pass. And yes, I get it. You're getting access to a lot more additional content. You are, you get access to Xbox Cloud Gaming. You get a lot of other perks. So it's not like you're just getting access to Call of Duty. But the point is that the face value comparison of that value prop versus paying $70 for Call of Duty and 6 battle passes at $130 is different. Particularly if, again, the whole suggestion around marketing and market share and what's going to drive and move the needle is that, oh, by putting Call of Duty in Game Pass, it's suddenly going to onboard a bunch of players, right? It again makes it very unlikely that you're going to convert any, right? We look at the metrics about the Call of Duty player base, and the metrics we see are lots of people who do nothing but play Call of Duty, right? So now none of those people have any incentive to come over to Game Pass to get it, right, for cheap or for free, because it's actually cheaper for them to just pay for the game and buy their battle passes. So that's that. I think the big thing is I just as a consumer advocate, I want people to be clear where they get access to Call of Duty, because that is going to be a big get for some people. And all of that brings us to the tail of the tape of this thing is what Microsoft is telling you, what Xbox is telling you is just subscribe to Game Pass Ultimate. And basically, if you're not subscribed to Game Pass Ultimate, I don't know, again, you're getting the same value prop as PlayStation Plus, which is really a play for legacy games and back catalog, much more so than it is access to newer games.
Okay, one final. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
One last little dollop I want to report. Also, for Xbox Cloud Gaming, remember that in order to if you're planning on going through the Amazon Fire Stick or some other methodology other than PC or Xbox to get access to Xbox games via Xbox Cloud Gaming, that is going to come from Ubisoft, not from Xbox. In the future, for that Activision Blizzard catalog.
For the Activision Blizzard, yes, based on the
agreement,
but that
right?
is, but I think that the other piece of that is, I'm unclear if that is worldwide or if that is just European Union aspects, because that was part of the negotiated piece there with the EU.
I'll double check. I'll fact check it while you guys are talking and wrapping up. But I believe it's worldwide.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's another whole piece there as well. Just a quick temperature check. GameLogic, you've been a Game Pass Ultimate in the past. You were a PC, or Swiss was a PC Game Pass person for a while. Are you any of these at this point, other than?
No, my evolution was I was Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for a very long time, and then I tried to back off and go to PC Game Pass. Then I came back to Ultimate. Then I canceled entirely. I came back to PC Game Pass just a couple of months ago to get access to Hellblade 2. But I have since canceled the service in its entirety.
Okay. And Tao, you're an Ultimate member?
Yeah, I'm Ultimate. Yeah. Since
Yep.
I'll play on my PC and both and my Xbox, so it's made more sense for me.
Yeah.
I'll continue buying it. I like the service just because it gets me into games that I wouldn't we've said it a million times. It gets me into games that I would never probably would have played because I wouldn't have bought these smaller, even stuff like Hellblade. I would never probably have tried before. So, yeah, I'll continue to go with it for now.
Sounds good. Exactly. All right, GameLogic, we got one more news story. Do you want to hit it tonight, or do you want to move off of it?
I'll hit it really quickly, but I did just want to clean up the point you mentioned. This transaction will give Ubisoft exclusive worldwide rights to stream the Activision Blizzard games, except for non-exclusive rights to cloud streaming versions in the European Economic Area. So basically, if some other like group had gotten access rights to cloud streaming, then Ubisoft cannot tread on those agreements. But other than that, it gives them worldwide access.
Thank you for that clarification. Let's hit this last news story here with...
we can actually skip that one.
Okay, then we're moving on. We've got moving into our third and final segment here as we wrap up the show. The GameLogIQ, you've been playing some more XDefiant?
Yeah, I have. It's been great. I am level 21 now, so I'm still playing in the welcome playlist. I've got 4 more levels to go to kind of to kind of, well, no. For some reason, it says the welcome playlists are only up to level 25, but you don't get access to rank to level 40. So I don't know what you're supposed to do between levels 26 and 40. But at any rate, I'm level 25. I've unlocked a second operator in Echelon, so I'm now playing as Rafa. I'm using the it's kind of funny. They call it digital something or other in the actual icon, but when you hear the voiceover in the game, it's called active camo, which is the same thing it's called in Halo, which I found really interesting. So yeah, I'm having a good time. I've actually unlocked all of the upgrades for the M249 LMG, and it's now I have to stay on that weapon if I want to get bronze and silver wraps and all that kind of stuff. But it's the LMG is a great weapon. I was disappointed in it in some aspects for certain missions, but I played Occupy tonight and on several occasions and Domination. On several occasions, I showed up at a spot on a Domination point by myself and like completely cleared and captured the spot by myself when there were like three enemy agents on it, just because I'm able to spray a ton of bullets. So having a good time. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail, but in my opinion, like one of the biggest things that needs to happen is escort missions need to be tweaked. They're just in my mind, they're super unbalanced for certain teams. There's no way that you're gonna, as a team of randos, gonna win against a team on comms. And I get that maybe they should have some inherent advantage, but it's just really bad. And one of the big things is that I mentioned this on some other shows, it is tactically feasible for the enemy team who's opposing the escorters to sprint across the entire distance of the map and be camped outside their gates at the time their gates open. You can actually get there like and have time to catch your breath. Like you'll get there and you have 5, 6, 7 seconds left. By the same token, for myself, as a tactical advantage, I also learned today, I realized today, dumb me, that that my sprint speed is impeded when I'm carrying my LMG, but if I swap to handgun, you sprint a lot faster. And so that's one of the cheese ways that people are using as an advantage to get across the map. But other than that, I'm having a great time with it.
Nice. Glad to see that you're sticking with it a little bit here. So that's interesting to hear as it continues to evolve a little bit. For me, I have played, as I talked about before, playing some cloud streaming with Xbox on the Fire Stick. I also fired back up Luna, the Amazon cloud streaming app as well. Luna controller, as I mentioned before, connects right to the server, similar to what Stadia did. And I was playing some Crew Motorfest. So this ran great. I mean, I'm running it only on a 720p TV, but the lag was minimal. I couldn't tell the difference of what I was playing when I played the same kind of races on PlayStation 5. So really pleased with the kind of low latency of Luna. Hero Down Under, yes, the Fire Stick was really smooth, both for cloud after it kind of loaded up, and for Luna it was instantaneous. So it was, it's been probably 2 years since I've played around with Luna, and I was pleased to see kind of how it's continued to evolve and stabilize. All right, Game Logic, one final one. You got some back to some Baldur's Gate as well.
So I did finally make my way back to Baldur's Gate. I put in probably another 6 hours this week. I had some super interesting and got through some super interesting story beats. Really super happy with those. I think overall, like I love Baldur's Gate. I played Baldur's Gate 2. I've loved Larian Studios games. I love Divinity Original Sin and like all their stuff. Part of my evolution as a gamer is I've become more and more engaged in and interested in the grind and therefore loot. And you don't get a ton of loot in Baldur's Gate 3. That's one of my detractions, I would say, is like you spend like some of these engagements are long. Like depending on how you think through things, and granted, I probably spend more time thinking through some of these things than other people do. But like some of these encounters are like 30 minutes. Some big battles are like an hour. And you get through all that, you do get a lot of loot by volume, but a lot of it's useless And so like I get it. I spend time triaging it because you have to go through it to see what's of use and of value. At the stage of the story I'm at, you also like I also just don't have just like a market or a store that I immediately go to like in Diablo or Destiny and can immediately like sell all this stuff. So and then I pass it around to other team members, and like then I go to that team member and they look at it and I'm like, oh, not proficient in this weapon type, or the damage level like is like no like zero advantage against what they already have armed. So there's a lot of that churn that I find bothersome. But other than that, I love the array of tactical and strategic options that it gives to you. I love how little choices that you make can make the game unfold in significantly different ways than somebody else's playthrough. So yeah, I've been having a good time with that one as well.
All right. That'll do it for us. Coming up next week, Master, it looks like you are sticking with some Once Human.
Yeah, I'll continue trudging along on there. Going through the story. I forgot to mention, too, before that there is like an overarching story that you can follow in their story beats, along the way, too. So it's actually, once again, another surprise that the story is actually, kind of in there in the game. So it's kind of nice. Not just some generic, find this person or that person or this thing or anything like that. It's pretty involved. Kind of doesn't make sense at times, but at least it's a story. So
nice. All right. And for myself, end of this week, EA's college football comes back, and so I've got that pre-ordered and ready to. I'll be talking about that next week. GameLogic, looks like you got a few things on your queue for the coming week here.
Yeah, does the college football, it's out next week for the early access, but is it?
It is out the 16th for early access and Friday the 19th for regular.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, that didn't come across my radar when I pulled the list, but I pull lists of upcoming at random, and so some sites don't list stuff. I'm gonna continue playing the stuff that I've been playing. I'm gonna hit up MLB the Show 24 some more right when we jump off of here. I'll be continuing to play XDefiant tomorrow. One of the new releases that I'm keeping an eye on is Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn, and see how that sticks the landing. I want to say I've heard rumblings that the review embargo on that is going up very late. Maybe like the day of the game's release. So I'm not absolutely certain on that. But I have liked what I've heard so far. The game had a lot of buzz around it as being a Souls-like, and the developers have been very engaged in making sure people. I don't like the terminology that I don't remember if it's the developers who are using it. I think there are lots of people have begun assigning this label Souls Light, which gets us right back to the whole roguelite problem, which flummoxed me for years. But I want to say the developers have been very direct about making sure people are not scared off from this game out of a belief that it is a Souls-like. So I think I feel relatively comfortable and confident about that aspect of it. But then, I'm waiting to see, from in terms of bugs, graphical fidelity, performance, things like that, how the game sticks to the landing. I'm thinking about picking up on Xbox, but, of course, I'll keep an eye on whether or not, there's lots of rumblings about whether or not, if Digital Foundry runs anything about it beforehand and says that the version on Xbox is a problem. So we'll see. In which case, I may, depending on what I see and what I hear, I may, go the PC route. But we'll see.
Yeah, Flintlock has been on my radar probably for 2 years now as something as it has looked pretty interesting, and so I'd be very curious to see how it gets out of the gates. So thanks to everybody who's joined us in the chat. And Nate, Hero Down Under, Wana, thanks again for being here, engaging with us. We appreciate your comments, your commentary, and for keeping us honest along the way as well. So this has been episode 346 for Enough to Keep Going. I have been your host, DBQ Hams. Thank you again for joining me, GameLogIQ and Towmaster99. So from all of us to all of you, enjoy enjoy the coming week and the plethora of games, whether they are free to play, whether you are subscribed to some ever increasing paid service, or if you are just buying them old school, old fashioned, and physical or digital. But play those games, love what you play, and be kind to yourself and those you play with. Good night, everybody.